Welcome to the Jean Piaget series of videos presented by Washington County Community College. In this video, we will introduce you to Jean Piaget and learn what events helped influence his theories on children's learning and development. Jean Piaget was born in Switzerland on August 9, 1896. As a young child, he was interested in nature and biology and later learned philosophy, religion, and logic, which led to his interest in epistemology, the study of knowledge. After completing his Doctor of Philosophy, Piaget explored work experiences that brought him into contact with psychology, and in particular psychoanalysis and child psychology. While working on the development of a French version of an English reasoning test at the Binet Laboratory in Paris, Piaget became fascinated by the incorrect answers children gave while taking the test. 3 events occurred around this time that helped lead Piaget to the start of his theories on learning and development. The first event occurred during the standardized tests. Piaget found that children within the same age range frequently gave the same incorrect answers. As well, there were different kinds of common wrong answers within the different age ranges of the children. Piaget concluded that older children were not brighter than younger children. Instead, the thought of younger children was qualitatively different than older children. This led to his rejection of the quantitative definition of intelligence. Piaget felt the issue of intelligence was to discover the different methods of thinking used by children of various ages. Essentially, he rejected the very method of standardized testing for young children he was conducting at that time. The second event occurred when Piaget realized that the current form of standardized testing could not accurately measure a child's intelligence. The standardized testing procedure at that time was too rigid and did not allow the possibility that a child merely lacked the understanding of the question being asked. Therefore, the test could not provide a reasonable measure of intelligence. Piaget decided that a task method should be designed to test children's intelligence. This method would allow the freedom for children to answer questions and direct the course of the test by their answers. Piaget wanted to follow the child's own thought process without imposing any direction upon it. The third event occurred while Piaget was using a clinical method to study children's thought process. During this time, Piaget was deeply studying the idea of logic. He noticed that children under 11 years of age were unable to carry out certain elementary logical operations. It occurred to him that this might have something to do with children's abstract logic. Younger children rely heavily on observation, but have not fully developed the ability to form mental pictures. For example, while children may be able to count 2 separate rows of carrots and conclude that each row contains 4 carrots, young children still rely on their observation to answer logical questions. When asked which row has more, young children conclude the longest row has more, as from their logical perspective, it must have more because it is the longest. These 3 events taught Piaget that intelligence should be defined by understanding children's way of thinking. Piaget spent several decades contemplating, analyzing, and researching ideas concerning children's mental growth, and after many years of study, he proposed a 4-stage process that each child moves through as they develop their cognitive skills. These became known as Piaget's 4 stages of cognitive development. Piaget posits that certain logical structures develop at each stage of a child's development, and how these structures operate during a particular stage determines the structure of the stage to follow. 2 things happen in each stage: organization and adaptation. As we learn and grow, we organize what we learn into logical connections. We learn to sequence knowledge, to connect related ideas, to determine information that holds more importance over information that is less important. While we are organizing our learning, we are also adapting ourselves to what we learn, to changes in our environment and our situations. For example, a toddler learning to stand may crawl to the closest chair inside the family home, but in the backyard, that same toddler has learned to use the family dog's tail and back to pull herself up. Eventually, the toddler will learn how to use her hands and legs in the correct sequence to stand up without assistance from any other objects. This has been an introduction to Jean Piaget and the ideas and experiences that influenced his theories on childhood learning and development. Stay tuned for part 2.